yeah. Hey, hey.
Gonna be on the team. Take a number, only push coops clean. Knocking bumpers, bringing crowds to their knees. With these suckers, you know you can't see me. Stevie Wonder.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Morning Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports, here on this bright and early Tuesday morning. So glad to be here. Got a few things we got to jump into this morning. As tell you what, sports, gotta love them. Had the opportunity tonight. I jumped off the air last night on the 110 Nation Sports Show to catch the Oklahoma-Kansas game. One of them was ranked number one in the AP polls. The other one's ranked number one in the coaches poll. So you have one versus one. And to sit here and watch this game and watch Kansas win in a triple overtime, I tell you what, it didn't get much more exciting than that last night. As these teams battled back and forth, you got to see truly a bunch of gifted and talented athletes out there on the court. And just to watch the excitement, to feel the atmosphere, even me sitting way out here in North Carolina, I can still feel the excitement. And I tell you what, triple overtime. Buddy Hield scored 46 points for Oklahoma. It was definitely something. Perry Hillis scored 27 for Kansas. It was definitely a very, very good game to watch. Very fun. Rightfully so, both these teams being where they're positioned, top of the polls, 1, 2, however you want to look at it, depending on what poll you went on. It was a very exciting game. It's been a long time since one or two things. One, it's been a very long time since I was excited about any college basketball game. But two, even more specifically, it's been probably even longer since I've been wrapped up or excited about any game that didn't involve my teams. It's just one of those things that I just wasn't allowing myself to get wrapped up in, and last night was one of the games that was just like, wow, like crazy atmosphere. Dick Vitale on there. I don't know, in all his years, if he sounded more excited about a basketball game, especially when he got into overtime and then double overtime, triple overtime, talking about, let's go all night, baby. I tell you what, it was a very good game to watch last night. If you didn't get the opportunity to watch the Kansas-Oklahoma game, you probably missed the game of the year, and probably one of those games that's will be played on the Classics channel, as they definitely put on one hell of a performance last night, and I was glad for one that I had the opportunity to sit there last night and watch it, because I think that I would have been upset, and it was all accidentally too, because I put on ESPN originally just to earlier in the day, just to kind of catch up on what was going on, especially with the Black Monday and the coaches, and then I got to, of course we're moving, so I got to started working on cleaning the house, so I muted the TV, and had left the UNC Florida State game on, and as I'm cleaning and had it muted and was listening to the radio and didn't really pay much mind. I really had no attention to the UNC Florida State game. Two teams that are not going to win a championship, so no big deal. And then I do the show, and about showtime is when the Kansas and Oklahoma game came on. And so, I'm doing the show last night, and I kind of found myself getting caught up in watching, bits and pieces as I'm doing the show last night, and we kept giving updates, and I'm trying to stay focused on the show, but at the same time, I got one eye on this game that I watched. Was it Kansas go up by like almost 15 points at one point, and then next thing I know, Oklahoma's up by 3 to 5 points, and so I start, at first I'm assuming Kansas is going to run away with the game once I see them start, getting that double-digit lead. But then once I watched Oklahoma come back, let me keep an eye on this game. Let me see what's really going on here. And there was about 4 minutes left in the game once we got off the air last night, and I found myself finding a spot on the couch and taking it in. And I found myself hoping that it would go to another overtime. And like I said, I had no dog in the fight, and really didn't bother me the way who won. Not really. And Oklahoma hadn't won on Kansas court since like 1993, and just one of those things. It has been so long, and I just found myself getting wrapped up in this game, and it ended up being like I said, a classic. You just you couldn't help it but be sucked in, and Kansas holds on, wins it. I saw this yesterday, and I thought this was probably about one of the most ridiculous things I heard. Floyd Mayweather decided to open his mouth once again. And at this point, I would think that he or his publicist or anybody in that camp would, tell him to keep his mouth shut. But Floyd Mayweather is blaming racial bias to blame for Conor McGregor's popularity. The UFC's Conor McGregor is one of the most, enigmatic stars in all of combat sports, coming off a stunning 13-second dethroning of former featherweight champion Jose Aldo in early December at UFC 194. The 27-year-old Irishman skyrocketed in popularity, with his last two fights nearing 1 million pay-per-view buys each and a reputation for being the best trash talker in sports. McGregor is one of the most polarizing fighters to come along in years. Most would attribute McGregor's success to his undefeated UFC record, 7-0 with 6 KOs, flashy in-ring exploits, and snappy quips on the microphone. Don't try using this reasoning with recently retired boxing legend Floyd Mayweather, though. According to Mayweather, McGregor is just a product of racism. Race has nothing to do with it, Floyd. Nothing at all. This man has not become popular or more popular than you probably have ever been because of his race. This has to do with you as a person. Has to do with the fact that you want to walk around with money, bags of money, bragging about what you have. being flashy, and the fact that you couldn't keep your hands off of women. I mean, honestly, even the whole money thing, even though that rubbed people the wrong way, and nobody cares that you have money, and nobody wants to hear you brag about your money, but because you couldn't keep your hands off of women, and so not only was you fighting and beating up on guys in the ring, you were beating up on women outside of the ring. That's where you lost your popularity. That's why you never hit the status that McGregor is hitting. Floyd went on to say, I don't really know McGregor. Never seen him fight. I heard the name actually from one of the runners that works for our company, a little kid named Ken Hopkins. He's a runner and takes care of a lot of the daily business. Whatever we need, he takes care of. He's a cool little kid. I like him, and he does MMA. He told me about Guy McGregor. They say he talks a lot of trash, and people praise him for it. But when I did it, they all say I'm cocky and arrogant, so biased. Like I said before, all I'm saying is this. I ain't racist at all, but I'm telling you, racism still exists. And people think that McGregor's cocky. And people think that he is arrogant as well. But it's more about how he holds himself, how he conducts himself. It's one thing to feel that you're the best fighter and be arrogant and be confident about it. It's another thing to be all that, plus try to shove it down everybody's face that you have all this money. Well, we understand you're an athlete. We understand that you're highly overpaid and you get bundles of money for no reason. We understand that. But where you're lacking to understand the connection of his popularity versus your lack of popularity is your relations with the females and how you conducted yourself and how you couldn't keep your hands off of. I mean, honestly, if you would have been a gentleman and learned how to treat women, and the money thing, like I said, that really here nor there. I mean, it would have been better off if you would have just kept your money in the bank account instead of walking around with bags of money like, look at me. I'm sure that your popularity and the buzz around you would have been a lot more positive. Now, I've seen some people throw out there that he wrote him the wrong way with the whole Pacquiao situation. And that's why people don't care for him, because he dodged Pacquiao. Well, that's all on how you perceive it. I'm sorry, but I'm not a Floyd Mayweather person, but I'm not a Pacquiao guy either. And saying that, and not ever really being a Mayweather fan, I side with the Mayweather side. I'm not going to, if I'm a boxer, and knowing that my opponent is juicing, and my opponent is refusing to take a test right before the boxing match to prove that I'm not juicing, then yeah, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to let my opponent have a possible advantage because that's what everybody wants. And see, that's where a lot of people, that judge him on that are not understanding. I don't think that as much as people try to gain momentum with that and talk garbage with that, I don't think people realize that they're actually more of a minority on that whole situation, because a lot of people understand why Mayweather was not jumping into the ring with Pacquiao, not until he knew without a doubt that there was going to be some kind of test to prove that Pacquiao was not still juicing. And so I kind of had to shake my head with it. I'm sitting there thinking that really has nothing to do with why people didn't like Mayweather. It had nothing to do with him not fighting Pacquiao when they were both younger and the match was relevant. It had to do with the fact that Pacquiao was doing things unethically, and Mayweather wanted nothing to do with that. He wanted to make sure it was a clean fight, and as fair as possible. Now, yes, it sucked for the boxing fans out there that, it was unable to happen until both of them were past their prime. Neither one of them, Pacquiao was no longer undefeated, and it was really irrelevant at this point. Now we're watching two senior citizens on their way out of the boxing world in a boxing match. It looked like Grandpa Joe and Grandpa Tom out there. I mean, I was glad that I had nothing to do with paying for none of that garbage or making any plans to go somewhere that possibly you could or could not see because they had so many glitches with it on a boxing match that was really a snooze and just kind of two guys past their prime just dancing around each other for a big paycheck. I mean, we knew this was the end. We knew that's what all this was about. This was about two guys that were not willing to do what needed to be done. More on Pacquiao's end. To make a match happen because they didn't want to ruin their paydays and ruin their careers. To build up something that, hey, we'll make this one of our last matches, and we'll take one final big paycheck and leave. And I mean, ultimately that's what happened. Mayweather has one more match, he's done. Pacquiao's probably on his last match and done. So I mean, that's here nor there. That really has nothing to do with the popularity or the lack of popularity compared to Conor McGregor in race. I just, things like this right here. Prime example of why people don't care for Floyd Mayweather. It's not his race. It's the stupid things that come out of his mouth. The ignorance that, not only are you known for beating up on women, then you want to run your mouth to Ronda Rousey, who had nothing to do with your career, has nothing to do even with your sport, and yet you felt it was necessary to feel like you need to bully or throw your 2 cents in on an athlete that's not even in your sport. And then talking about you wanting to get in the ring with her and how you would beat her. Well, no, that was really the last thing you needed to even say was that you would beat another female. I mean, regardless it was in the ring or not. So, Floyd, do yourself, do the sport, do the world of her. Enjoy your money. Go spend your money somewhere. Enjoy it. Be quiet. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody really cares how butthurt you are about the popularity of some UFC guy. A guy that's not even in your sport on top of that. Once again. I don't get it. We have 3 teams that filed for relocation applications. The 3 teams that have been connected with the NFL's future in Los Angeles, the San Diego Chargers, Oakland Raiders, and the St. Louis Rams, all filed relocation applications with the league in an expected procedural move. Here's the NFL's official statement on the filings. 3 teams, the Oakland Raiders, the St. Louis Rams, and San Diego Chargers, each submitted applications to our office today to relocate their franchise to the Los Angeles area, beginning with the 2016 season. Each team submitted the appropriate documentation in support of its application as required by the NFL policy and procedures for purposed franchise relocation. The application will be reviewed this week by league staff and 3 league committees that will meet in New York on Wednesday and Thursday. The Los Angeles Opportunities Stadium and Finance Committee. The application will be presented for consideration at next week's league meeting in Houston on Tuesday and Wednesday. The relocation of a franchise requires the affirmative note of 3/4 of the NFL clubs, 34 to 32. Um, but in league circles, the belief is that the San Diego Chargers moving 2 hours up the coast is the most preferred choice. Today, the San Diego Chargers submitted to the National Football League team's application to relocate to Los Angeles. We have tried for more than 14 years through 9 separate proposals and 7 different mayors to create a world-class stadium experience for our fans in San Diego. Despite these efforts, there is still no certain actionable solution to the stadium problem. We are sad to have reached this point. What happens next in the hands of the NFL owners, who will meet in Houston on January 12th and 13th? The Chargers have pledged from the outset to respect whatever decision the league ownership makes. A couple things. One, you got teams like Oakland that absolutely positively need a stadium or to be relocated. And I'm sorry, but that should be the first team that it should be on consideration of anything. But then you got the flip side. We've already had the Rams and the Raiders in LA. Didn't work the first time around. And I'm not sure what people are thinking will make it work the second time around, when both of these teams are still kind of the same teams they were back then, mediocre teams. But to my main point here, I understand that these stadiums affect the economy. And that's what a lot of, the reason that these teams, expect to get money from the cities, and the taxes and the fans. But at the same time, I have no sympathy. You own a billion-dollar team. Therefore, you're making a crap ton of money from sponsors and advertisers and this and that and ticket sales and team rights and NFL rights and everything else that you got. If you can't better budget your money so you can afford to make the necessary upgrades to your stadiums and the upgrades to your facilities, I have no sympathy. Yeah, I understand that the city needs to help some, because yes, it affects the economy. I worked in Southern Pines, about 30 to 45 minutes away from Rockingham Motor Speedway, and I could tell the extreme difference from when it was race weekend, even though we was about 30, 45 minutes away, than when it was non-race weekend. I also worked in Chapel Hill, and I could tell when UNC basketball was in and when UNC basketball was out, when the team was good, when the team sucked. I mean, there was extreme differences in the economy when the season was in or the season was out, when the team was good, when the team was not. So I completely understand why, these teams expect or ask for help from the cities. My whole thing is the kind of revenue. If you weren't worried about living the big life, you weren't worried about having the personalized this and the personalized that and the expense of this and living the expensive life that, one, you wouldn't be reliant on a city to help you. Two, if you had a city such as St. Louis or Oakland that is not willing to help, you have the funds. Yes, it is great to get the help, and I would expect some kind of help, not the kind of help that these team owners are expecting or wanting. They're getting ridiculous with this. But I'm sitting there thinking, as a team owner, my game plan is, okay, I'm going to budget this so we have these funds available to us to upgrade or relocate, or not relocate, but to build a new stadium or whatever the case may be. If we get the additional fundings, great. The city does need to help because we're ultimately affecting jobs in the economy. But if we don't get the help that, I want, or I don't get the help at all, at least I am able to take care of what I got to take care of. Screw the city, and don't expect me to give back to the city. I mean, that's how I would look at it. Instead, you got these owners that are hell bent over that if the city is not going to flip the bill, the whole bill, most of the bill, 50% of the bill, I mean, it's not like they're asking for a little bit. They're asking for the taxpayers to pay a lot of money. And with taxes already being the way they are, and the economy being already the way they are, and having the garbage of a president we have, I mean, how far do you think that the people that live in these cities or states are willing to stretch their dollar to have a football team, or to have their stadium upgraded, or a new stadium built, when they're having troubles paying their bills, they're having troubles keeping the power on, they're having troubles putting food on the table? I mean, to me, it's really a no-brainer on that you're expecting a lot from people that are stretched as far as they possibly can be stretched at this point. I mean, if you're that hard up for a new stadium, start making some cuts. I mean, start cutting out of your staff. Start cutting out of what money you're spending. Like I said, I have no problem with the cities, being asked to help. But to know, and this is why you got cities that are not willing to help. Because the first opportunity they get, I mean, look, Oakland, you're wanting this city to help you out. But here you are, ready to go out the door already. St. Louis, same thing. You're wanting to help. But because you don't get exactly what you want, once again, you're leaving. And I'm sorry, but if I'm the Oakland and St. Louis, I'm kind of hesitant already, because I've done watched this team bounce from Oakland to LA to Oakland. Now I want to go back to LA. Same thing with St. Louis. Why as a taxpayer, or why as a mayor, am I wanting to invest into something that's, you got a track record of not hanging around? No, I do not blame some of these cities. And I think that if these owners in the front office would learn how to do a better job of their finances, I don't think we would have such an issue. But I know that's all talking out my butt, and we all know that team owners such as Jerry Jones has a certain lifestyle, and they're going to continue to spending thousands of dollars for meals that they could go to your local steakhouse and spend $100 on, or instead of having $100, $200, or even a $500,000 house, they're going to have $10 million houses. And instead of having, one or two cars, because you can only drive one car at a time, they're going to have 10, 15 cars. And instead of their wife getting off their lazy butts and cleaning the house, they're going to have a couple maids. And instead of them taking care of their own kids, they're going to overpay somebody to take care of their kids. And we can go down the line, a list of line of things that, the cuts that can be made to make it possible if these team owners really wanted to and was really concerned about having their team in a better franchise or a better stadium. And I think that's another thing that people take into consideration. If you're not willing to make the cuts and you're willing not to make any sacrifices, and if you really truly felt that you wanted a new stadium and you're not making any efforts to, then why should anybody else? I mean, we're in the process of moving here this week, and we're making an upgrade, and we're making some cuts, we're making some sacrifices. Hell, our rent's about to double just so we can live a little bit better of a life. We can live in a place that's almost 1.5 the times the size we're living in now, going from a 2-bedroom place to a 3-bedroom place, going to a two full bathroom instead of one and really a half a bathroom. To go to a place that actually has all the flooring versus the house place we stay at now that some reason the flooring is rotting out, and so I mean our living room went from a full size for its standards to about 3/4 of a living room because the floor's rotted out and you can't use that part of the floor. I mean, we're going to be making sacrifices to have an upgrade. And not that it's the greatest upgrade, but it's the next step up. Honestly, I think it's the step up that we're going to stay at for a while until we put ourselves in a situation, credit and financially wise, that we can go ahead and buy. And I think this is something that is going to be a few years down the road kind of stay, because I think the next move is going to be out of this area. And so we know the sacrifices we got to make, even the move that we're making right now. And, on top of that, with, having to get a vehicle and fix another vehicle and everything else, there's a lot of sacrifices that we'll have to make. And if we're not seeing that out of the ownership of these teams, then why are people expecting, why are these owners expecting the teams to do this, and why are the owners expecting the teams to help flip the bills on this stuff if we're not seeing any sacrifice? We're not seeing these teams go out of their way to make sure that this is even possible. So of course, all eyes are going to be on the owners meeting next week, a week from today, on who and what team, and all this hoop holler and everything else. Then you're possibly going to share the stadium. I realize that we're looking at 2 teams getting to move, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw LA and St. Louis be the 2 teams go back, and San Diego be odd man out at this point. But now, I know it helps with cost, and see, that's what even makes it even more humorous. I don't see how, especially teams such as the Jets and Giants that share a stadium can ever expect the city to help when you got 2 owners that make the money that they make, and now you cut the cost in half when it comes to the stadium and the upkeep and everything else. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration, but obviously we're going to be keeping our eyes out and ears open, and next week is going to give us something to talk about on the relocation, and how who gets it, and what the season is going to be like, and the new schedules come out, and I hope that they took that into consideration when they wrote the new schedule out. And I don't know quite why they made the schedule already, not knowing who the 2 teams are, because you can't have 2 home games at the same time in the NFL, obviously at a stadium. So honestly, I would have thought that with all this going on, and they've not decided, I would have thought one of 2 things. Either they would have made a decision by now. That way, when the schedule come out, we knew there was going to be no conflict. I mean, if you have St. Louis and LA in the same stadium, obviously you can't have both of them on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. So, those kind of things, I don't make sense to me. But on top of that, either I would have thought that they would have done it before they did the schedule, or they would have put off making the schedule or making the schedule public until we found out who was moving, and if it's 1 team or 2 teams taking up the stadium, and they can make sure that there's no conflict in the schedule. I mean, that's just my thinking. We had some NBA games last night. College wasn't the only thing in action last night, and even though that triple overtime game between Kansas and Oklahoma might have been hard to top, we did have some interesting games last night. Memphis went into Portland last night, won 91 to 78. Golden State holds on against Charlotte at home, 111 to 101. Houston went into Utah, 193 to 91. San Antonio, 123 to 98 in Milwaukee over the Bucks. Sacramento, Cousins had 33 points and 19 boards. Was victorious over Oklahoma, 116 to 104. I've talked a lot about Oklahoma. I know a lot of people want to see Kevin Durant win a championship, and there's a lot of Westbrook fans out there, but they're not deep enough. Cleveland learned that the hard way the first time around when they had LeBron James. Once we started seeing the big threes, such as Boston and then Miami, we quickly realized you need at least 3 really good players on your team, or you need an extremely deep team such as Golden State. Golden State doesn't have 3 necessarily superstar players, but they have a really good, really deep team. You have, Cleveland right now, you got 3 superstars, then you got some good players. Golden State, you got a good handful of really good players. You might only have 1 superstar on that team, but you got a handful of really good players. Oklahoma, you only got 2 superstars, then you got okay players. You don't have a deep enough team, and I know it's unfortunate for Oklahoma, and there's a good possibility that Durant's, going to possibly take his talents elsewhere after this season. But one, you kind of got to blame the players because they want these extreme, ridiculous contracts that made it that you couldn't hang on to James Harden, and made it you couldn't hold on to Reggie Jackson, and made it you couldn't hold on to these other players to help you win a championship. And so I can only point fingers at, I can't just point the fingers at the front office and the ownership. I still got to point my finger at the greediness. I mean, the Under Armour contracts, if it wasn't enough, or Nike, whoever Durant went with, I think the Under Armour, if that wasn't enough of, of a payday, then you maximize your contract on the courts, and you just make it more difficult for your team to be underneath the salary cap. Now there's a possibility that, with the new TV contract, that opens up, the possibilities of bringing in another superstar if, Westbrook and Durant were still there. And now you become competitors, and now you start to get a little bit deeper. But as it sits right now, you got a 1-2 combo, and that's it. And if one of them's tired or one of them's hurt, as we've seen Durant be out for a season, we've seen Westbrook be out for a season, or a lot of the season in the playoffs, they can't do it. And as fun as it is to watch these 2 superstars play, it's not enough. It's not enough with the schedule that they have, the traveling they got to do, the weight that they got to carry, and the lack of help that they get. That's why Golden State has built themselves a team that is so deep. That's why Cleveland built the team that they built starting 2 years ago, and are still trying to perfect and make it a deep team. That's why does San Antonio have a superstar? No. I mean, you want to call to Tim Duncan at 40 years old a superstar? No. He's just a really good player, and you have a staff of really good players. Aldridge, a really good player. Tony Parker, a really good player. Ginobili, a really good player. Danny Green, a good player. Leonard, a really good player. I mean, they're loaded, and that's why you have the 3 teams on top that you have. That's why you have Golden State. That's why you have San Antonio, and you have Cleveland, and consistently stay up there. It's because how deep they are. Miami and Indiana. I mean, really good teams, and they are teams that have not as deep, really good players, but quite a few really good players. I'm sorry, but at Dwayne's age, I can't call him a superstar anymore. He's just a really good player. It's not consistent every night. He can't stay healthy long enough. Age is catching up. It just wear and tear. You can't call Chris Bosh. You never call him a superstar, but a good player. Whitehead, a good player. It just you're not deep enough. So you're a decent team, but you can't get over that hump. Do I take Miami at this point over Oklahoma in 7 games? Yeah, probably, because they're deeper. Same with Indiana. Paul George, yeah, I'd call him a superstar. You got a couple other good players, really good players on the team, but it is still not deep enough at all. And LA, I'm not quite understanding the Clippers, because you have quite a few really good players. I think it's because of the fundamentals that they lack. They're more worried about showboating versus getting back on defense or making a stop. I don't know, because I mean, Blake Griffin, really good player. DeAndre Jordan, outside of his free throw shooting, really good player. Chris Paul, really good player. Jamal Crawford, good player. Redick, good player. Paul Pierce, at his age, I don't know if I'd call him really good, but still a good player. I mean, yeah, I could do without Doc Rivers' kid out there. That kind of takes away from some of the really good players, and I think you're hurting your depth with that a little bit. But you have a team with a bunch of really good players. They just lack, I don't know, motivation, lack concentration. I don't know what exactly they're lacking. But as much talent as they've had over the last 2 or 3 years to continuously fall flat on their face, that still is a mystery to me. But Sacramento 116-104 over Oklahoma. Cleveland at home over Toronto 122-100. Kyrie Irving had another good game, 25 points. As they're starting to really get everybody in their position. I know Mo Williams is butthurt out there because he's not in the rotation and not getting the play time. What did you expect, though? You knew that you was a fill-in player for Kyrie while he was gone. And you knew once Kyrie came back that your play time would be cut dramatically. On top of that, you knew that you weren't going to get play time over Dellavedova. Dellavedova proved himself last year. And Dellavedova's young, and Dellavedova gives his all the whole time he's out there. We're not going to get that out of Mo Williams. So, of course, you're not going to get the play time. If anybody should be upset, it should be Anderson Varejao, who has been the back of this team, the spine of this team for so many years, and especially with LeBron being gone, and when this team really had nobody, and Anderson Varejao was trying to carry this team for those years while LeBron was gone, to find himself in an opportunity to be finally back with LeBron in a team that was good, and gets hurt, and then comes back, gets off the injury, and comes back this year and is not seeing much time. I mean, if anybody should be butthurt, it should be Anderson Varejao, but he understands his role, and he understands what needs to be done. And I mean, honestly, Anderson's probably, part of him is probably glad that, he's got an opportunity to be able to rest himself and maybe prolong his career a little bit more than maybe he would have if he wouldn't get all this rest time. So, I mean, Mo, you're going to have to get over it. As of course somebody wants to call right here. It's first thing in the morning to interrupt showtime. I gotta go ahead and hang up on him. Oh, yeah, I love telemarketers first thing in the morning. Minnesota, let's Philadelphia. Minnesota, how do you let Philadelphia win? All that young talent we keep hearing about, and how that Cleveland made a mistake by not holding on to Wiggins, and how good this team supposedly is supposed to be, and bringing Kevin Garnett back, and everything else that this team did. And I mean, you're not playing to the expectations that people were expecting. But two, you let the Philadelphia 76ers get their fourth win of the season. I mean, you're sitting 12-23. Something's got to give out there in Minnesota. You can't have all the quote-unquote talented players and not be able to be productive and put W's on the board here. Come on now. But Philadelphia 109 at home, 109-99 over Minnesota. Miami overtime at home over Indiana. Really good game last night. It's 103-100. Boston over Brooklyn, 103-94 in Brooklyn. And Detroit at home over Orlando, 115-89. A bunch of great numbers. I tell you what, Lakers torn on which number to retire for Kobe Bryant. And they're talking, I've heard talks of possibly retiring both numbers, since he won 3 championships with the number 8, won 2 championships with the 24. This is what I would like to see happen. I would like to see either one, Kobe Bryant decide on which number. No, don't retire 2 numbers. You only get 0 through double 99. So I mean, obviously there's not a crap ton of numbers retired, and there's plenty of numbers to be retired. But you don't tie up 2 numbers to one player. I'm sorry, you just don't. That would have been like Chicago Bulls retiring 23 and 45. They just retired 23. When LeBron's career is over, they're only going to retire the 23. They're not going to retire the 6 and the 23, regardless who he played the 6 with. One, I don't want to see both numbers retired. 2, I want it to be up to Kobe to feel which part of his career, the number 8 part of his career, or the 24 part of his career that meant more to him, maybe made more of a statement, more of a reason to be retired. I wish that they would just say, look, sit down, think about which number you felt was more impactful, more important to your career. We're going to retire your number. We're going to let you decide. If Kobe doesn't want to make that decision, then this is what I would love for them to do. I would love for them to hold some kind of vote. Let the Laker fans decide. Let those that watch Kobe Bryant, those fans of the sport, then decide. You know, I know it's not the same as retiring the number, but, you know, it's kind of what LeBron did. When he came back to Cleveland, he let the Cleveland fans decide, do I stick with number 6 or I go back to 23? Now, of course, it was really a no-brainer because nobody wanted 6 when that was what he played with Miami. They wanted him back to 20. I think they would have took any number but 6. They would have said 23 and 100 million. It didn't matter. That other number could have won, but as long as it was not number 6. It could have been any number but 6. But let's either the fans decide, and I think that would be cool. You talk about this farewell tour and visiting all these arenas and for the last time, and the respect that he is getting, and the Boston Celtics giving them part of the floor, and the goodbyes and the farewells that Kobe Bryant is getting from every fan base, from every team that he's playing. How better to top that than letting the NBA world, the fans, decide what number gets to be retired? I mean, how cool would that be to let people know you get to decide? Bryant wore number 8 from the time he broke into the team in the 1996-97 campaign, won 3 championships, and delivered an unforgettable 81-point performance while wearing it. He changed the number to 24 prior to the 2006-07 season, won 2 more championships, and is wearing it in his 20th and final season in the NBA. I mean, to have an opportunity. I mean, to make the fans feel even more important. I mean, you're already seeing him handle this with as classy as you can, and seeing him, appreciate the fans appreciating him. Why not take that to the next level? Say, you know what, we are the Lakers organization is torn amongst themselves on what number needs to be retired. The organization is doing a very respectful, classy thing by letting me decide on which of the two numbers I want to retire, and as appreciation to my fans for the support that they have given me through my 20-year career, the dedication, them having the back after the mistakes I've made. I want to pay back my fans by letting them help me decide by a fan vote on what number is going to be retired. I mean, how else do you? I mean, that's it right there. You cannot finish your career on a higher note to see the fan participation that you're going to get out of this. That is going to be overwhelming. I mean, that might shut down the site. That might shut down the internet. The kind of voting that you would get, because you're not just getting the millions of fans, of Laker fans, but you're going to get worldwide participation. Every fan out there from every country. Yes, that's you want to talk about a vote. It don't matter if you're a basketball fan or not. You know who Kobe Bryant is. You know the Black Mamba. You know the impact he has had on this sport. You might see more votes in a jersey vote for Kobe Bryant than you've seen in the presidential election. That's me. If I had my way, that's what would happen, and that would be really cool if Kobe Bryant and the Laker organization came up with that, and obviously that's not probably something that's ever been discussed or probably even thought about. It's more about me. What number do I want retired, or what number does the organization want retired? But it would be cool if someone from the organization was tuned in today, and what, we never thought about that. Maybe we need to talk to Kobe about this. This guy right here, Mr. CJ Sports, he got something. There's no better way to show, and I'm not saying that they got to use the results. Or use that as their final decision, but it would be nice to get the fans' feedback, the fans' opinion on it. I mean, how better? What a better way to show your appreciation to an organization. Either way. This year that's dedicated to Kobe and his farewell, Capchick said. And next year the Lakers will lift one of Kobe Bryant's number into the arena rafters, or two of them. And like I said, it's being left open for there possibly being two both numbers. I don't like that, but like I said, I got the perfect solution and the best solution. Now if the Kobe, if Kobe Bryant or the Laker organization or anybody that's part of this decision making was listening in, I got you your idea right there. Take it, run with it. I might have put my stamp on it, but I didn't copyright it, I didn't trademark it, I didn't nothing like that. You can use it. Make the Laker fans happy. Make the NBA world happy one more time before we no longer have Kobe Bryant at all. Yesterday afternoon, I know yesterday morning we were talking about Black Monday, and we're talking about what coaches were on the hot seat, what coaches are being shifted. And Chuck McConnell was one of those names that was still uncertain after going 8-8, not having quite the season that not quite having the season that the Indianapolis Colts was hoping for. With that being said, the Indianapolis Colts went ahead and gave him a contract extension. Chuck McConnell still had one more year left in his contract. No worries because he is not going anywhere. Obviously, the organization overlooked the most embarrassing play in NFL history with that fake all that, and overlooked the injuries and everything else that it contributed, and once again not making the playoff. And an extension, not finish contract and then make a decision, but go ahead and give him a contract extension. But I wanted to give you guys an update on that as we get in. Also, after we got off the air yesterday, Tom Coughlin went ahead and announced that he was going to step down, as it was kind of put out there that either you get fired or you step down. And so, of course, Tom Coughlin went ahead and stepped down after 12 years, 2 Super Bowls, many playoff appearances, above 500 record. Tom Coughlin is no longer the head coach of the New York Giants. And throughout the week, we're going to keep you guys updated on all the moves in the NFL. That was really all. The only thing that happened was Picano got an extension, and Tom Coughlin stepped down after yesterday's show. Make sure that you guys catch us Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. every morning here for the 110 Nation Morning Show. Also, don't forget, Monday through Friday, we got the 110 Nation Sports Show. We got Izzo joining us tonight at 10:30 to talk NHL. We got a couple other things that we got in the works. Also, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, return of the Racing with Big Sweat. Steve Billmeyer has been in the hospital. He's just now getting back out of the hospital on his feet. So we had to put a week delay on the return of the show as he took the holidays off. And then Sunday nights, the highly rated Midwest Horsepower Hour, 9 o'clock Sunday nights. Make sure you tune in to them as well. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Make sure you check out our fan pages, mine, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nations, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our site, www.the110nation.com. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, I'll be back at this. You guys have a great day.